As feared, not having a major balance update prior to the new expansion meant that a lot of old decks are still being played, and nothing's really changed. After the initial buzz of the new expansion where loads of new decks were experimented with, the same old decks are dominating the meta. A lot of players are starting to lose interest in the game. It's actually quite upsetting that Riot are just choosing not to do very much, as balance changes were something I personally really look forward to. I really hope that Riot does something in the near future, or the consequences of the game may just be simply that no one starts to play it anymore. So this video will look at the buffs and nerfs Brom and I think are desperately needed to try and sort this meta out. This is Preview Predictions Patch 2.5. This video has been done in collaboration with Bomber TV. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on the bell notifications too. So let's dive in. With Twisted Fate decks dominating the meta so much at the moment, it would have been a crime not to start off with the video of him, especially after seeing the damage Twisted Fate Fizz is causing in the game right now. So I predict Twisted Fate will be nerfed and his blue card will be nerfed so it doesn't restore spell mana anymore. Twisted Fate is very difficult to balance, and Riot did a great job finding his initial numbers to fit him. I feel decreasing his health would make him unplayable. Increasing his level condition would make him basically impossible to level up, and increasing his cost would also kill the card, so you don't really have too many options in areas where you can tweak, but he's still too strong at the moment with the amount of decks that are currently featuring him. A good direction to go in would change his support cards, and the only one I feel can be really tweaked is the blue card. I know that this change removes the attune synergies, but it isn't a proper attune synergy as it is, and we don't really have cards that really care about tuning yet. So let's face it, you use the blue card for the draw in, let's say, 90% of the use cases. Red card I feel would be too hard to nerf. You could maybe get rid of the 1 damage it does to the opposing Nexus, but then this gets rid of all the plunder synergy. For the yellow card I feel the stun is still needed, and only doing 1 damage instead of the 2 it currently does would be too weak, so therefore out of these 3 cards I feel the blue card is the only one we can truly focus on for the nerf. I guess it's a very minor nerf, but I feel it's minor enough needed to change Twisted Fate, and let's face it, it'd only be something small to kind of make a completely unplayable card. So I'd be interested to see what this nerf would do on the overall impact of him as a champion. I predict Aphelios will be nerfed so Calibrum, one of his moon weapons, would deal 2 damage instead of 3. We're seeing a lot of Aphelios being played at the moment, and there are 2 main reasons why this is likely to be the case. Number 1, he is a new champion and everyone wants to play him as a result. And number 2, he's actually quite competitive and his moon weapons offer many alternative routes to winning. Very simply, this new champion is shaking up the meta and he's probably going to become even more toxic as time goes on, as players find new ways to abuse him. A lot of his value generation is because of Calibrum taking care of the enemy board whilst you're stabilising, and this is simply overwhelming the opponent with basically too much value generation. For now I wouldn't change anything else on this card, and basically see how things evolve in the future. I feel the stats on Aphelios are fair, the rest of his moon weapons are less balanced, and Aphelios' effect fits in nicely with his playstyle. So this is a very subtle nerf which I feel could still keep him competitive, but marginally lower his value generation from his moon weapons, specifically Calibrum. I predict Zap Sprayfin's cost will be nerfed from 4 to 5, so an increase in 1 mana. The ability to draw specific cards is always quite desirable, and it should come at a cost. Zap Sprayfin is simply too much value for its cost. You're getting a 2/2 elusive card, obviously worth 2 mana, and the ability to draw a card worth more than 2 mana, and obviously with its attune, a spell worth another 1 mana. So if you sum this up, it means you get basically more than 5 mana's worth of value, and you have to take into account that more things like it does the same card, the less other cards you need to draw for all those effects. So basically you're not having to get loads of cards to get these bits and bobs. It just basically also means that there should be a bit of a tax for this amount of value, and which is why I think there should be an increase in the mana cost. With all that said, 5 mana would still be great value, but it'll be a little bit more fairer. This is a particular problem, as we said, as it's very desirable 1 mana spells, and I'm of course talking about spells such as Go Hard, obviously attune directly giving that 1 extra mana, basically where some decks like this have popped up. We are still debating if we should nerf the core of the problem, but since Zap has always been part of it, and also part of very strong strategies in the past as well, like Pirate Burn, we decided this first nerf of the auxiliary tool would be a very kind of good starting point. So it'd be interesting to see what the impact of this would be if it was to happen. I think House Spider will be nerfed and his stats will be changed from 2-2 to 2-1, so a nerf to his health by 1. Currently House Spider is being run in Spider Burn decks as well as many variations of Ezreal Draven, Ezreal Swain, Elise Aggro and Discard Aggro. It's basically way too flexible. As a natural Spider synergy card, it's also a wide summoner, both valuable in control decks to jump block and put on early presence on the board to complete against aggro. On top of this, it's also a valuable option in aggro strategies which like to go wide, like Discard Aggro. It also offers a way to trade 2 for 1, and in the 1-1 trading with their 1-drop, whilst the 2-2 trading with the 2-drop. Overall, this change would preserve most aspects of the card, but also make the unit a little bit more punchable by pings and AoEs, like Make It Rain and Unspeakable Horror. So this would tone down, I guess, what is not such an interesting card, by taking away the 2-drop slot and preventing much more interesting units and strategies see play on the 2-mana slot area. Even with this change, it would still be a great unit for wide dedicated strategies, or of course, spider themed decks. I believe Draven will be nerfed so he does not generate an axe on play anymore. Draven is seeing a lot of viability both in Discard Aggro, Ezreal Draven, as well as being a viable option to include in many aggressive decks featuring Noxus, considering this is also one of the older archetypes. You've also got Decisive Targon, Elise Burn, you kind of get the picture here, he's absolutely everywhere. While it's good that a champion is stable in his region, it shouldn't be as good as he actually is. Removing the axe on play removes just a tiny bit of consistency in the most problematic decks that we're seeing at the moment, Ezreal Draven, Discard Aggro, where he's basically just an axe generator that usually gets removed for one reason or another, but later on you get the advantage for when the axe is generated either by discarding it to draw and gain value, or simply just to discard something to generate tempo. So again, removing the axe on play means that it still at least has to enter combat to start generating the value, but we want to keep his stat lines the same and his keywords the same, as I don't feel this is the problem. It's very much the value that all his axes can kind of create with him. I predict that Zoe is going to be nerfed, and I believe that her Supercool Starchart should cost 3 instead of 2. Zoe is a powerhouse of value. Not only is she a cheap, elusive body that can deal easy damage, but she's also a great long-term threat that can win you the game if she levels up. If this wasn't enough, she also generates an insane amount of value for a relatively cheap cost by being able to invoke cards which are obviously better by design. So the nerf to her spell is quite a significant one, which may seem very harsh, but it's basically needed to tone down what is an insanely good champion. I feel this change will keep her competitive, but marginally slow down the rate that value can be generated, so just find that kind of fine balance. And there you go guys, what do you think to these predictions? You notice that a few of these Bomber and I have been really trying to call for a while now. It's as if we foresaw the dominance of the aggro decks ages ago and knew that they seriously needed to be addressed in order to maintain a healthy game. If Riot sort these changes out, the game would be in a much better place, and we'll be able to keep all the new players that join in the streamer expansion, as well as keeping the old veterans to the game that have been around since launch. What cards do you think need buffed and nerfed in this upcoming patch? I would love to hear in the comments. Up next is Top 10 Decks Patch 2.5, taking a look at the wide range of decks viable in the next meta. So fingers crossed Twisted Fate Fizz is not on that list. This analysis has been done by Bomber TV, a Masters tier player who does gameplays at Masters tier level and deck guides like this one. The link to his YouTube and Twitch channel is in the pinned comment or in the card above. I've recently set up an Instagram account, @LoreGuides, and I'll be doing a giveaway shortly. Please follow this account for see posts about new videos and for being a chance of winning this giveaway. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on bell notifications too. See you next time guys.